You know what messes with a woman's mind after she rejects you? It's not the long texts, the explanations, or the one last chance conversations. That's expected, and expected behavior never triggers doubt. What really haunts her is silence, unexpected growth, and the slow realization that the man she thought was easy to walk away from might have been the rarest one she'll ever meet. Today, I'm giving you a playbook rooted in Stoic power. How to make her question everything after rejecting you. This isn't about revenge. It's about rediscovering your own value, controlling the only thing you can, yourself, and letting your absence plant seeds of doubt she can't ignore. Let's break it down. Number 1. Disappear like a ghost, reappear in her mind. The first step is also the hardest for most men. Vanish completely. No explanations, no dramatic goodbye, no sneaky attempts to stay in her orbit, no liking her posts, no replying to her stories, no indirect, "look at me" moves. Just silence. Clean, complete, and effortless. And I know that silence can feel like torture at first. But trust me, it's the silence that plants the first seed of doubt in her mind. See, when you disappear like you never needed her in the first place, it flips the entire script. Most guys do the opposite. They chase, they cling, they try to prove their worth after being rejected. But when you do that, you're just confirming her decision. You're showing her she had you figured out all along, that you were just another guy desperate for her approval. But when you vanish, it forces her to sit with an uncomfortable question. Did I make a mistake? Because if you were as into her as she thought, if you were heartbroken, needy, or stuck on her, why did you walk away so easily? Why didn't you fight for her like all the others? That silence forces her to reconsider everything she assumed about you, about herself, and about the power she thought she had. Maybe you were the one with options. Maybe you were the one quietly evaluating her the whole time, just waiting to see if she was actually worth your energy. That uncertainty is powerful, and it's rare. It's the kind of move that only a man with self-respect, control, and a sense of purpose can pull off. And this is where the Stoic mindset separates you from the crowd. A Stoic man doesn't disappear to play games. He disappears because he understands his value isn't tied to external validation. You don't need her attention to feel worthy. Whether she sees you or forgets you entirely, your worth stays exactly the same. That's the kind of confidence that shakes people, because it's rooted in something deeper than ego. It's rooted in self-mastery. There's a line from Epictetus that captures this mindset perfectly. Any person capable of angering you becomes your master. Think about that. The moment you let her rejection control your actions, whether it's chasing her down, trying to prove your worth, or clinging to hope, you hand her all your power. But when you choose restraint, when you master that restless urge to reach out, to explain yourself, to beg for a second chance, you flip the script completely. Your silence becomes a statement. I don't chase what's unsure about me. That kind of discipline is rare. And because it's rare, it's magnetic. A man who doesn't flinch in the face of rejection, who can stand firm, unshaken, leaves people wondering if they underestimated him. And that's exactly the kind of man who makes her question everything. Number 2, upgrade, don't unravel. When a woman rejects you, the easiest trap to fall into is self-pity. You start spiraling, overthinking every word you said, wondering if you were too much or not enough, and maybe even venting to anyone who'll listen, hoping someone will give you the magic answer that fixes it all. But here's the thing. That's the old script, the one written by insecurity and desperation. And Stoic men, we don't follow that script. What you do next, in silence, away from her eyes, that's what determines everything. A rejection isn't a death sentence, it's a crossroads. You can collapse under it, or you can turn it into the fuel that sharpens you. You upgrade, not to prove anything to her, but because that's what a man of value does when life throws him a challenge. You level up physically, mentally, emotionally, socially. You pour your focus into your craft, your body, your mind, your circle, and you do it without fanfare, without the need to be seen. The Stoics constantly remind us that external events, like rejection, are beyond our control. What's always in your hands is your response, your mindset, and the way you rebuild yourself after the storm. As Epictetus put it, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. That's where your real power lives. Not in chasing her attention, not in trying to make her see your worth through words or empty gestures, but in becoming the kind of man whose silence lingers, whose absence carries a weight that makes her question whether walking away was her biggest mistake. Here's where it gets interesting. And I've seen this play out time and time again. There's a day, maybe weeks later, maybe months, when her curiosity gets the better of her. She checks back in, whether it's through social media or through mutual friends. She wants to know if you crumbled after she walked away. And instead of finding the version of you she rejected, the one who might have been too eager, too available, too unsure of himself, she discovers someone entirely different. She sees a man who's been too busy building to dwell on her absence. A man whose life has expanded, whose energy feels refined, whose sense of purpose radiates through everything he does. That's the moment the doubt creeps in. That's when she starts wondering if she misread your potential, if she rejected you at the exact moment you were about to become the man she always wanted, but didn't recognize yet. It's not about revenge. It's not about playing games. It's about embracing the Stoic mindset, understanding that the rejection wasn't a curse, but a gift. It gave you the space to strip away everything weak, needy, and uncertain, and step fully into your strength. She might have rejected you, but the version of you she rejected no longer exists. That's how you make her question everything. Before we jump into the next point, I want to hear from you. Have you ever had a moment where rejection forced you to look in the mirror and decide it was time to evolve? What was the first step you took to start that transformation? Share your story in the comments. Your insight could help someone else who's going through it right now. Or, if you're on that path of growth at this very moment, just leave this in the comments. Every setback builds my strength. Let's see who's choosing growth over bitterness. Now, let's keep going, because your next move matters more than you think. Number 3, break the predictable pattern. One of the biggest reasons a woman feels so confident rejecting a man is simple. She thinks she's got you all figured out. In her mind, you're predictable, you're available, you're easy to read, and above all, you're safe. And when a woman feels like she knows exactly how you'll react, exactly how much you care, and exactly how much you'll tolerate, she doesn't feel any need to question her decision. Why would she? She believes she already knows the ending to the story. That's where you break the pattern. You become unreadable. You disrupt the comfort she felt. One moment, you're warm, attentive, and present. You're the guy she thought you were. Then, without explanation, you become distant, quiet, and hard to reach. Not out of anger, not to play childish games, but to remind her of a truth she forgot. No one owns your time, your energy, or your attention. You see, A Stoic man understands that his emotions are his own to command. He doesn't throw them out for the world to consume, hoping someone validates them. No, he guards them like a king guards his castle, with intention, with care, and with purpose. That shift from wide open to selectively distant makes her stop and wonder, did I really know him at all? Was I too quick to judge? What else was he holding back from me? And here's the thing, when you become unreadable, you trigger curiosity, and curiosity is the gateway to doubt. She starts replaying your moments together, wondering if she missed something. She thought you'd chase her after the rejection, that you'd keep showing up to prove your worth. But instead, you did the opposite. You disappeared into the shadows, and now, the version of you she rejected feels incomplete, unfinished. And unfinished stories are the hardest ones to forget. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that we don't control what others think, only how we respond. When a woman rejects you, the weak man scrambles to explain himself, to bargain, to convince her she made a mistake. The Stoic man? He accepts the rejection with calm indifference, not because he doesn't care, but because his worth isn't up for debate. And by mastering himself, by becoming unreadable, he plants a seed of doubt in her mind. A woman can't question her decision if you're still acting like the same man she confidently rejected. But when you change, when you shift into something unexpected, calm, composed, distant, yet undeniably grounded, that's when the questions start to creep in. Was I wrong about him? Was there more to him than I thought? Did I misread his value? That's how you make her question everything. Not by begging, not by proving, but by mastering the art of mystery. By showing her that just because she made a decision doesn't mean she knew the full story. And when she starts to wonder, she's already halfway to reconsidering. Remember, her rejection isn't the end of your story. It's just the moment you became unreadable. Number 4. Showcase an untouchable aura. Confidence isn't about loud declarations or attention-seeking moves. Real confidence, the kind that makes a woman rethink her decision, is quiet. It's in the way you carry yourself, the way you own your space without trying to prove anything. You move like a man who knows his value because he's defined it for himself, not because she validated it. That's the kind of presence that lingers in her mind, especially after she's pushed you away. See, when a woman rejects you, in that moment, she's confident in her choice. She believes she knows you, knows how you'll react, knows how much you wanted her. But when you respond not with anger, not with desperate attempts to win her back, but with an unshakable calm, you disrupt her expectations. You become a mystery again, and mystery always stirs curiosity. That untouchable aura, the sense that you're good with or without her, it's magnetic. It creates a question in her mind. Did I misjudge him? Was I too quick to decide? If he's this composed without me, what does he know that I don't? This is where a bit of Stoic wisdom comes into play. Marcus Aurelius didn't chase validation from others to confirm his worth. A Stoic man understands that his value isn't something anyone, not even a woman he desires, has the power to grant or take away. Your worth is internal, forged through the way you handle yourself when things don't go your way. Let her see you walking through life with that quiet strength, the kind that doesn't need to announce itself because it speaks in your posture, your tone, and your actions. When you refuse to crumble, when you show her and yourself that her rejection was merely a moment, not a defining event, you plant a seed of doubt in her mind. Women don't question men who beg. They question men who disappear into their purpose, into their peace, and come out the other side more composed, more disciplined, more magnetic than ever. When you show her that your life didn't pause because she walked away, that's when the questions start creeping in. Did I give up on someone rare? Did I underestimate him? Who is he becoming now that I'm no longer in his life? The ultimate power isn't in trying to make her regret her decision directly. It's in becoming the man she never expected you to be. Not out of revenge, not out of bitterness, but because you value yourself too much to break your own frame. A Stoic man doesn't ask the world to see his worth. He embodies it. And sooner or later, the world, including her, takes notice. That's how you make her question everything. Not by trying to convince her with words, but by living in a way that forces her to reconsider everything she thought she knew about you. That quiet, unshakable confidence, the kind that doesn't need validation to exist, is what separates men who dwell in rejection from those who rise above it. It's not just about her seeing you differently, it's about you seeing yourself differently first. If this point hit home for you, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Or if you're all about embracing that untouchable aura, just drop this sentence below. My value isn't up for negotiation. Let's keep the conversation going. Number 5. Trigger the curiosity reflex through distance. Distance is powerful because it creates questions. When you were always available, she had no reason to wonder about you. But now, your absence creates a gap, and her mind starts filling it with curiosity. Where is he? Who's he with? Why doesn't he care anymore? See, humans hate unanswered questions, especially when those questions are tied to someone they once had power over. And that's the part most men overlook. When you were chasing her, replying instantly, checking in all the time, you were predictable. There was no mystery, no uncertainty, nothing for her to figure out. But the moment you step back, the moment you break that pattern, something shifts. It's like when you misplace something you thought you didn't care about, your favorite hoodie, some old watch, and suddenly you can't stop thinking about it. The absence forces attention. It pulls focus. That's exactly what happens when you go silent after she rejected you. A Stoic man doesn't create distance as a tactic to manipulate someone else's feelings. That's not the point. The point is to protect your own peace. Marcus Aurelius would remind you that your energy is yours to guard. You don't chase validation, and you definitely don't beg for someone's attention. By stepping back, you're not just triggering her curiosity, you're showing yourself that you value your own self-respect more than the need to be chosen. That's the ultimate shift. Imagine you asked her out, you showed interest, and she gave you the classic, "I'm not sure what I want right now" speech. Most guys panic at that point. They send paragraphs trying to explain why they're a good guy, why she should reconsider. But you thank her for her honesty, you step back, and you go live your life. You're not angry, you're not bitter, you're just absent. And that absence, it's louder than any text you could have sent. The beauty is, when you disappear like that, calmly, confidently, you force her to sit with her decision. There's no reassurance from you, no comforting safety net that she can fall back on when she gets bored. Instead, she's left with silence. And silence, my friend, is where curiosity thrives. The Stoic man understands this deeply. You don't control her thoughts, her feelings, or her decisions. But you do control how much access she has to you. And when you take that access away, when you become a closed door instead of an open book, she has no choice but to question her own judgment. Did she overlook something? Did she misunderstand who you were? Was she too quick to write you off? That's the power of distance. It's not about changing her mind. It's about making her question her own. And the most powerful part? You're not doing this to win her back. You're doing this because your peace, your sense of inner calm, matters more than her validation. Whether she comes back or not is irrelevant. Because the man who walks away with grace, with dignity, with silence, that's the man who always leaves a mark. Number 6, from rejected to desired. She rejected the version of you she thought she knew, but here's the truth she hasn't realized yet. She doesn't know you anymore. The man she said no to was a snapshot, a moment in time, shaped by how she perceived you back then. But you've evolved, and the most powerful part? You're not out there trying to prove it to her. You're not sending texts hoping she'll notice. You're not posting on social media begging for attention. Without ever saying a word, your silence speaks volumes. Your absence creates a space where her mind can't help but wander. Why did you disappear so calmly? Why aren't you chasing, explaining, or clinging? That space, where curiosity meets confusion, is where attraction is reborn. Suddenly, she starts to wonder if she misjudged you. Maybe she was too quick to decide. Maybe you weren't the problem. Maybe she was. Every step you take forward, whether it's working on your body, your mindset, your purpose, becomes part of the story she tells herself about you. And here's the twist. You're no longer the man trying to earn her validation. You've become the man she's beginning to second-guess rejecting. That quiet reversal, where you shift from being someone who wanted her to someone who might be too good for her, is where all the magic happens. See, a Stoic doesn't chase approval. You know your worth isn't defined by her acceptance or her rejection. It's defined by the man you choose to become every single day. Rejection isn't the end of your story. It's the spark that forces you to rewrite the script. She assigned you a role, but a Stoic never lets anyone else decide who they are. You step back, you rebuild, and you redefine yourself on your terms. That self-possession, that unshakable calm, becomes magnetic. And here's a real example. Think about someone who was taken for granted until they walked away completely. Maybe you've even experienced it yourself. The moment that person stopped trying, stopped explaining, stopped showing up, that's when you started wondering if you'd underestimated them. That's the energy you're creating now. You're no longer her safety net. You're the mystery she can't quite solve. And the beauty is, you're not playing games or trying to manipulate her. You're just living in alignment with your highest value, your self-respect. That's the core of Stoic power. You control your actions, your energy, your presence, and you let her wrestle with her own thoughts. When you embody that mindset, you don't just make her question rejecting you. You make her question how well she ever knew you at all. And that's the kind of presence she won't forget. If you've made it this far, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and share your thoughts. Whether you've been through this transformation yourself, or you're in the middle of rewriting your own story right now. Or if you just want to let me know you're locked in and focused on becoming that unshakable version of yourself. Leave this in the comments. The man I'm becoming doesn't chase. Let's see who's really embracing that Stoic energy. Number 7, let your absence become her mirror. Your absence does something her presence never could. It forces her to confront herself. When you're gone, there's no one left to project blame onto. No one left to explain away her doubts or rationalize her decision. She's alone with her own reflection, and in that silence, questions start to creep in. Was she too quick to judge you? Did she mistake her fears for intuition? Did she reject something rare because she was too caught up in her own chaos to recognize it? See, when you're constantly there, reaching out, trying to explain yourself, trying to prove your worth, you become the noise that drowns out her inner dialogue. But when you step back, when you remove yourself completely, you give her mind the space to revisit everything. Memories resurface, moments replay in her head, and the story she told herself about you starts to unravel. That's when doubt sneaks in. That's when she wonders if her rejection was ever really about you, or if it was her own fear of getting too close, her own insecurity whispering that she doesn't deserve a man like you. A Stoic man understands this deeply. You don't need to chase validation. You don't need to force clarity. You simply exist in your truth and let reality do the rest. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." In this case, the best response to rejection isn't anger, desperation, or proving her wrong. It's showing her, through silence and self-respect, that you are the type of man who doesn't beg to be understood. By walking away, you're not punishing her. You're allowing her to experience what life feels like without your presence anchoring it. And that absence becomes a mirror, one she can't avoid. Every time she sees a reminder of you, every time she scrolls past an old message, every time her mind drifts back to your calm presence, the mirror reflects back not just who you were, but who she was with you. The contrast becomes impossible to ignore. This is where the power lies. Not in convincing her you were worth it, but in letting her own mind start to question why she let you go in the first place. You're not trying to manipulate her into regret. You're simply giving her the space to see the truth for herself. That losing you wasn't just losing a man. It was losing the version of herself that felt seen, safe, and valued in your presence. And that realization? It doesn't happen when you argue, explain, or beg for closure. It happens when you disappear into your own life, embracing your own path with the quiet confidence of a man who knows his worth. That's the power of absence. That's the lesson of Stoic detachment. You become the question she can't answer, and the one she can't stop asking herself. Number 8. Elevate without broadcasting. The biggest flex isn't showing off. It's glowing up so naturally that people can't help but notice. You're not out here posting thirst traps or throwing shade with captions meant to get her attention. That's noise. And noise always comes from insecurity. What you're doing is moving in silence, letting your actions speak so loudly that she can't ignore it, even if you never say a word to her again. She rejected you. Maybe she thought you'd crumble. Maybe she expected you to chase, to beg, to prove your worth to her. But instead, you disappeared into the work. You stepped back and poured your energy into the man you're becoming, not to win her back, but to honor yourself. And in the process, you became the kind of man she starts to wonder about. Maybe she catches a glimpse of you through mutual friends or a story someone shared. Maybe it's a casual update. You're traveling more, you're dressing sharper, there's a different kind of confidence in your posture. You're not the same man she rejected. And that's where the doubt creeps in. Because when a man evolves after rejection, without bitterness, without the need to prove anything, it leaves a mark. It makes her question everything. Did she misjudge you? Did she underestimate you? Who is this version of you? The one who didn't need her validation to level up. A Stoic man doesn't glow up for revenge or validation. He does it because self-respect demands it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. That's your mission. Not to convince her you were worth it, but to become so undeniably valuable that whether she sees it or not becomes irrelevant. And ironically, that's when they always notice. There's something magnetic about a man who elevates quietly, who doesn't need applause or attention to know his own worth. It's the absence of desperation, the quiet presence of a man fully grounded in himself. That's what makes her question everything. Because now, you're not the guy she rejected. You're the man she's curious about. The one who might just be out of her reach. And that's the power you hold. Not through petty games or chasing her approval, but by becoming so solid in who you are that her opinion no longer defines you. Number 9. Move like a man with options. When a woman feels like she was your only option, rejecting you feels easy. There's no risk for her because, in her mind, you were fully invested, fully locked in, like a man standing at her doorstep with nowhere else to go. But the second your energy shifts, everything changes. When you start moving like a man who has options, not just with women, but with life itself, you become a question mark in her mind. She starts wondering, was I wrong? She starts replaying the moments, second-guessing her decision, asking herself if she rejected a man who was about to become something she can't replace. This is where you tap into something deeper, the mindset of a Stoic. A man rooted in Stoic philosophy understands that attachment to any single outcome, whether it's a relationship, a job, or someone's approval, only leads to weakness. When you tie your sense of worth to her acceptance, you become easy to predict, easy to dismiss. But a man who holds his frame, who lives by his own standards and values, becomes unpredictable. And unpredictable men are the ones who linger in a woman's mind long after they walk away. You're not walking away to punish her. You're walking away because your life doesn't pause for anyone. A Stoic man knows that his purpose, his growth, his sense of self, all of that comes first. The rejection? It's just another moment. Neither good nor bad, just part of the path. When you start treating it that way, when your energy reflects that you are at peace with what happened and already looking ahead, she feels it. And that feeling, that realization that you're not chasing, not waiting, not stuck in limbo, that's what makes her question everything. Imagine this. She rejected you thinking you'd wait around, trying to prove your worth. Instead, she sees you thriving, connecting with new people, exploring new passions, living with a calm sense of purpose. Suddenly, her confidence starts to crack. Not because you're playing games, but because you showed her, through action, that you were never dependent on her acceptance in the first place. That's the power of detachment. Not coldness, not bitterness, just the quiet confidence of a man who understands his own value. A man who doesn't need to be chosen to feel whole. That's the man who gets remembered. The man who becomes the one that got away, not the one who waited at her feet. So when you move like a man with options, not just with women, but with life itself, you rewrite the story she told herself about you. And once a woman starts questioning her own story, it's only a matter of time before she starts questioning everything. Number 10. Rewrite your role in her story. In the end, you rewrite your own role. You're not the rejected man. You're the one who made her question everything. Not just about you, but about herself, about what she really wants, and even about the choices she thought were so certain. See, most guys, when they get rejected, they crumble. They beg for another chance, they drown themselves in self-pity, or they lash out trying to prove something. All of that does nothing but confirm her decision. But you? You're different. You walked away with quiet confidence, with the kind of silence that lingers, not because you're playing a game, but because you genuinely understand your own worth. And that silence is powerful. It gives her space to sit with her own thoughts. And in that silence, she starts to wonder, did I misjudge him? Did I overlook something rare? You see, rejection doesn't define you unless you decide it does. A Stoic man knows that events outside his control, whether it's her decision to walk away, her opinion of you, or even the sting of rejection itself, none of it can touch who you are at your core. As Seneca said, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Most of the pain, it's the story you tell yourself about what her rejection means. But a man who knows his worth doesn't waste time rewriting that story to fit her opinion. He rewrites it to reflect his truth. You don't need to chase her or convince her of your value. Your quiet evolution, the way you keep moving forward, becomes the only proof that matters. And here's the twist. When you step back and start focusing on yourself, your purpose, your evolution, she feels it. Even if you're not in contact, even if she doesn't see every move, there's an energy shift. Women can sense when a man is no longer waiting, no longer hoping, no longer orbiting around her validation. That absence makes her uncomfortable because it forces her to reconsider what she thought she knew about you. She remembers the man she rejected, but now there's a gap, a void where your attention used to be. And in that void, curiosity creeps in. Who is he becoming without me? Why does it feel like he's slipping further out of reach? That's when the doubts start to take root. That's when she starts to question if she made a mistake. A Stoic man doesn't need revenge. His silence, his growth, his unshakable self-respect. That's the only answer he ever needed. And when she's alone with her thoughts, replaying the story in her mind, you've already rewritten your role. You're no longer the man she rejected. You're the one that got away. At the end of the day, rejection isn't the tragedy most men believe it is. It's a mirror, a test, and sometimes the greatest favor life can hand you. The way you respond to rejection defines whether you remain stuck in her memory as just another guy who couldn't handle her absence, or if you become the rare man who left her questioning everything. This isn't about manipulating her mind or winning her back with tricks. It's about stepping into your own power, embracing the silence, building your life in ways that have nothing to do with her, and radiating a sense of purpose so strong, she can't help but wonder if she misjudged you. Not because you forced her to, but because your absence left space for curiosity to take root. And here's the truth. The man you become after rejection is far more important than the man you were when she walked away. That's the Stoic lesson. Your value never came from her validation. It comes from how you carry yourself, how you master your emotions, and how you refuse to let anyone's rejection rewrite the story you're writing for yourself. So if you take anything from this video, let it be this. You don't chase closure, you become it. You don't beg for her attention, you command it through silence and self-respect. And you don't wait for her to see your worth. You become so rare, so grounded, so unapologetically yourself, that whether she sees it or not becomes irrelevant. If you found value in this breakdown, hit that like button. It helps get this message to more men who need it. Drop a comment below and let me know which part hit home for you the most. Your reflections help build this community. And if you're ready for the next level, check out the recommended videos on your screen now. They'll guide you even deeper into the mindset, discipline, and quiet power that turns rejection into your greatest advantage. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.